The Promised Land project is at its heart a research project. Our committee seeks to document archives and sources that are important to researchers of the Promised Land's themes and to preserve fragile historical documents and at-risk collections, and that includes some family collections. It seeks to stimulate research through the creation of links between researchers separated by distance, but joined in their desire to understand the Black diaspora as represented by the early Black settlers in Chad and Kent. We seek to work with other committees, including the Public Education and Community Links Committee of the Promised Land, and committees involved in analysis and dissemination of the research we provide. We aim to develop cutting-edge research that informs and maybe even inspires people and other committees to tell the rich and compelling story found here in Chad and Kent. And finally, we hope to provide researchers and interpreters of history here with new tools and resources that make primary documentation easier to access and to sort.
Multiculturalism as a concept is very, very important for this project. We do celebrate our multiculturalism, and we do not believe that Black history in this particular place could be even possible without any multicultural collaboration. We do believe that it is a collective of individuals from different races fighting the same goal.
Appearing in this 1839 almanac, we have a representation of John Bull holding back Uncle Sam after welcoming a refugee into Canada.
The Canadian environment held different fascinations for different peoples. For slaves in the United States of America, Canada was heaven. Hence, they made enormous effort to cross the border to Canada.
When we're talking about multiculturalism, we tend to forget that we identify ourselves through what I call Pygmalions. Our Pygmalions certainly are those group of people that were collaborating together and were working together to build a community, what we decided to call the Promised Land communities in multiple places around the regions here. So the Promised Land communities of this particular region is very specific because of the connection we had with the southern part, with Africa, with Europe, etc.
I wanted to look at Canada from the British point of view. They view it as their white colony. So Canada was supposed to safeguard British interests, and Canada was there to promote Britain's moral values of freedom, and this was epitomized with the clash over the question of the abolition of the slave trade. You know, the young republic being, having slaves, and Britain promoting freedom.
And of course, Canada was still a British colony during this particular time.
But what they're saying is that Britain knew it all, and Britain was planning all this, you know, when Canada was not controlling anything, was just like a puppet, you see. So what I'm saying here is that this is a discourse that is very interesting to challenge by using the Canadian discourse in Canadian history. Chatham, an outsider. It's never been, regarding the racial debate, it's never been a question for the British to share the governance with white and black settlers. It's never been a question. Even though Chatham was thriving, Chatham is still not on the grand discourse. Being an outsider might have helped in the fact that they're not remembered in the British well, in the broader Canadian history as such, but certainly not in the British imperial history. With South Africa, well, you have an example of direct governance. It started as a, a crown colony, heavy-handed British over there. So from the start, you have this racially biased point of view, because once again, the British view that as, first of all, a white thing and a black thing. I mean, it's constantly in there in the archives. I talk about all this because this is helping us to have some background information on the mechanism and history of empire. And this could help us understand the colonial context at the time when Chatham was being, and Johnstown were being set up, or rather were thriving. I like the word thriving. And this could give us some perspective on the way, the links between Chatham and the rest of the world, because all this, I just said, was happening more or less at the same time.
Remember that we have this question of, where are all these black people in Chatham today? Why they are not in Chatham anymore? And this experience of, okay, it was a safe haven, but at the same time, where are they?
The slave trade had remained by far the most important factor which dispersed African peoples and their cultures all over the globe. There is no denying that, despite of the fact that Canada was among the most benevolent expressions of the slave institutions, the society was characterized by the dominance of one man, of one race over another. The situation was not helped by the influx of free blacks from the United States of America. This development tended to debase the status of the so-called people of free color. Hence, African Americans, whether slave or free, found themselves in a state of freedom in slavery. Crucial to the realization of this idea was the acquisition of land. Unfortunately, few blacks received any land at all, and what they got was smaller than promised and contained some of the worst soil in the province. The problem was compounded by the location of most of their land allocations very far from major settlements, and this made the establishment of the viable farm extremely difficult. Arising from this hardship, discrimination, and reluctant charity, Mary Belt Norton asserted that there were irresistible pressure to immigrate. They have to immigrate. All these negative tendencies they went through. Though majority of Africans or African Americans, descendants of former slaves and people of free color in the 19th century knew well, were not born in Africa, and their knowledge of Africa might have been vague, stereotypical, and ambivalent, there is little doubt that Africa might have offered a pull to some of them. The Martins, the Burnleys, the Haddisons, these are names of ex-slaves who came back from the Caribbean.
And all those people coming from North America or from the Caribbean, they created a society called Euro-Africans.
That is where I want to draw the line. I want to bring a triangular chart that there's a linkage between Canada, Jamaica, and Cameroon. When we talk on J.J. Fuller, a Canadian, a Jamaican, I talk of Thomas Keith, who left Jamaica, or who left Canada, migrated to Jamaica and to Cameroon. So there's a connection between Canada, Jamaica, and Cameroon. The descendants of these ex-slaves found in Victoria today, they accepted. We are not Cameroonians. We are not real Cameroonians. We are Africans, yes, but our roots from Jamaica. Some will tell you, our great-grandparents, well, doubt, Canada.
That shows once again that there is this brown history, the official history, and then you have those I don't want to say stories, but those parallel discourses that are underneath and that have been, forgotten, so to speak. Not really forgotten because they're still there, but let's say overshadowed by this grand narrative.